Hello, it's your favorite sports here. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button to join the fastest growing community on YouTube. Remember, ABF Sports doesn't happen without you. So please subscribe or you're gonna make crack. Deion Sanders draws the line. Colorado's wake-up call after Georgia Tech loss. Week 1 of the college football season is supposed to be about new beginnings. For programs like Colorado, it was meant to be a showcase. The dawn of a new era under the relentless firebrand leadership of Deion coach Prime Sanders. Instead, the Buffaloes walked out of Bobby Dodd Stadium with a 27-20 loss to Georgia Tech, a scoreboard that told only part of the story. The real numbers were uglier. Outgained 463 to 305 in total yardage. Gashed for 320 rushing yards. And perhaps most infuriating to fans, the clock management fiasco in the final minute that robbed Colorado of even the slim hope of a comeback. With 1:07 left and 2 timeouts in hand, Sanders didn't stop the clock. Seconds drained away. Precious opportunities vanished. The Buffaloes resorted to desperation heaves that fell harmlessly, sealing a bitter opening day defeat. ESPN analyst Dusty Dvoracek didn't mince words, blasting Sanders' sideline decisions as really poor clock management. The criticism came swiftly. From talk shows to Twitter timelines, questions rained down. Was Pat Shurmur's conservative offensive approach handcuffing the team? Why couldn't the defense stop a rushing attack that was telegraphed from the first quarter? And more broadly, was this Colorado squad, after a year of headlines and hype, truly ready for prime time? But here's the thing about Deion Sanders. He doesn't wilt under adversity. He doesn't duck criticism. If anything, setbacks sharpen him. And that's exactly what unfolded in the days after the loss, when he gathered his team for one of the most brutally honest meetings of his coaching career. A meeting of truth. You chose to be here. Inside the team facility, with cameras from well-off media rolling, Sanders stood in front of his roster. Not as a media star, not as a Hall of Fame cornerback, but as a leader holding his program accountable. You're here because you chose to be, Sanders began, his voice sharp yet calm. Am I right or wrong? Anybody forcing you? Anybody got a gun on you, forcing you to come to practice, come to work, come to do the best that you can? Anybody? The room fell silent. Sanders wasn't interested in speeches. He was dismantling excuses, brick by brick. You chose to be here, he repeated. So why don't you make the most of it, because it's your choice? This wasn't just motivation, it was confrontation. Sanders wanted every player to wrestle with the reality of commitment. In his eyes, Colorado football wasn't a prison sentence or a chore. It was an opportunity, one they had asked for. The portal or the program. Sanders then delivered the kind of ultimatum only he could. Stay fully committed or don't bother staying at all. Some of you can say, I made a bad decision. Cool, he said with a shrug. You can correct it. Get in the portal right after the season. I'm good with that. I'm cool with that. It was classic Prime, brutally blunt, borderline cold, but laser-focused on the bigger picture. To him, a smaller roster of warriors is better than a larger roster of half-hearted passengers. He'd rather lose players unwilling to buy in than dilute the culture he's working to build. That message resonated beyond football. Sanders was challenging his players not just as athletes, but as young men. Own your decisions. If you want to leave, leave. If you stay, give everything. There is no middle ground. Targeting the coaching staff. Do not change your character. The players weren't the only ones on the hot seat. Sanders turned his attention to his staff with equal ferocity. His message was crystal clear. Coach, do not change your character to compensate for these soft men. Don't change your character. Do not change your character. This wasn't a pep talk, it was a directive. Sanders knows the trap that coaches often fall into, softening standards to appease players who don't like being pushed. To him, that's the beginning of the end. Lower the bar once, and soon the entire program erodes from within. Instead, Sanders doubled down on authenticity. Be who you are. Be who God has called you to be, because we got a multitude of people that want to do right. We just got a few that want to do wrong. The implication was unmistakable. Don't sacrifice your integrity for the few who resist discipline. Focus on the many who crave structure, who thrive under accountability. Those are the players worth building around. Building a culture of no excuses. Sanders' approach is about constructing a culture where excuses can't breathe. For players, that means buying in with full effort or packing their bags. For coaches, it means sticking to their standards regardless of pushback. This culture isn't built on slogans or locker room posters. It's forged in difficult conversations like the one Sanders held after Georgia Tech. It's about confronting failures directly, without sugarcoating. It's about demanding honesty from everyone, including himself. In that sense, the loss to Georgia Tech wasn't just a setback. It was a litmus test. Could Sanders rally his program in the face of embarrassment? Could he reassert the uncompromising values that made him a legend as a player? The answer came in his words. This team would be defined not by defeat, but by how it responded to it. Looking ahead, no margin for error. The schedule doesn't allow for much sulking. Colorado's next stretch features Delaware, Houston, Wyoming, and BYU. None are national powerhouses, but each is capable of punishing a team still licking its wounds. For Sanders, these games represent more than wins and losses. They're opportunities to prove that his program can absorb adversity, learn from it, and grow sharper because of it. They're chances for players to show whether they're truly committed or simply along for the ride. If Colorado repeats its Week 1 mistakes, poor tackling, soft defense, shaky clock management, these opponents will expose them. But if Sanders' message takes root, the Buffaloes could turn the Georgia Tech loss into the spark that ignites their season. The larger legacy, Coach Prime's standard. Deion Sanders' coaching style has always been polarizing. Some see him as brash, uncompromising, even harsh. Others see him as inspiring, demanding, transformative. But love him or hate him, nobody can deny his authenticity. He doesn't put on a mask. He doesn't bend to fit a narrative. He tells the truth as he sees it, and he demands the same honesty from those around him. In the aftermath of the Georgia Tech game, that truth was uncomfortable. It meant telling players that some of them might not belong. It meant reminding coaches that catering to weakness is fatal. It meant looking his entire program in the eye and saying, "This is your choice." And in the long run, that might be the very thing that separates Colorado from the endless list of programs that settle for mediocrity. Final word. The choice is theirs. As Colorado marches into the rest of the season, the challenge isn't just about X's and O's. It isn't just about clock management or defensive schemes. It's about culture. Every player in that locker room now understands the stakes. They can choose to stay, commit, and fight through the grind, or they can leave. Every coach knows the stakes too. Hold the line or risk collapsing under the weight of compromise. For Sanders, the Georgia Tech loss wasn't a disaster. It was an opportunity, a mirror held up to his program, reflecting both its flaws and its potential. The Buffalo season will ultimately hinge on how they respond to that reflection. Will they embrace the accountability their coach demands, or will they crumble under the weight of expectation? One thing is certain. In Deion Sanders' Colorado, excuses have no home.